Okay, now that we are all seated, let me thank you for taking your time to be with us this afternoon for the launch of the USAID Winrock International Supporting Victims of Violence activity. Before we get into our proceedings, we are going to be observing, what is our protocol with the playing of the national anthems of the United States of America and Jamaica. So I'm going to ask everybody to join me and stand as we play the national anthems. Also going to ask that persons put your phones on silent or on vibrate. If you're a doctor and you're on call, we understand, but we still don't want the program to be disturbed. We are actually live streaming on PBC Jamaica and their various platforms, so we understand how that will affect the live stream. So let's pause for the playing of the national anthems of Jamaica and the United States of America. We'll remain standing for the playing of the anthem of the United States of America. You may be seated. Again, let me take this opportunity to officially welcome all of you and thank you so much for taking the time to join us at today's launch of the USAID Winrock International Supporting Victims of Violence activity in Jamaica. Since 2010, under the Caribbean Safety Initiative, the USAID has been working in the Caribbean region to advance development. This particular activity is aligned with the USAID's focus on violence prevention and human empowerment. Winrock International, as an international NGO, also has a similar focus. And so it was a match made in heaven, perhaps, for Winrock to have received this award and for us to be here today under the auspices of the USAID and Winrock International. I think we are all aware that Jamaica currently is facing a challenge, not just in relation to crime, but in relation to violence. And so the Supporting Victims of Violence activity is taking place at a critical juncture in Jamaica's development. We recognize the need for greater support to victims of violence in our society, and also to strengthen the supply side of victim support that is offered by our ministries, departments, agencies, and our NGOs and CSOs, community organizations that are working to ensure that communities are strengthened and develop the agency that is needed to carry on sustainable development. This launch activity will provide you with more information about the work that we'll be doing under the what I will call SVOV in short. It's very hard to keep saying Supporting Victims of Violence activity in Jamaica. So the SVOV will be providing you with more information in relation to the work that will be done under the SVOV. And we thank you so much for the support that you will be giving us over the life of this project. I want to say that I was thinking that we should just close the room and keep everybody in here for the rest of the week, because I guarantee you that if we do that, we will come up with the solutions needed to transform Jamaica. We have every single development agency, whether international development agency or a MDA or a local partner that you could think of represented here today, great minds and years upon years of experience in the area of development. And we have the ambassador for the United States of America here, so we won't be short of resources to advance our great plans. Fortis cateris ceteris non potest. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have said enough. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The first person I will be inviting to bring greetings is Ms. Nina Etimezian, Associate Vice President for Human Rights, Education and Empowerment with Winrock International. She took the time to travel all the way from Washington, D.C. to join us for this launch activity. So I'm going to ask you to make her feel the warm Jamaican welcome, right? Put your hands together and welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to be here today representing Winrock International on the occasion of the official launch of the USAID Supporting Victims of Violence, SVOV, we'll keep it short that way, in Jamaica. The roots of violence in Jamaica run deep, stemming from a complex interplay of historical, social, and economic factors. So many Jamaicans are impacted on a daily basis by the high levels of crime and violence in the country, and the scars are evident not only in grieving families and shattered communities, but also through the trauma that is passed down from one generation to the next. But today, we come together united in purpose and committed to confronting this long-standing issue of violence, to launch a transformative initiative that drives towards a safer and more inclusive Jamaica. First, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the U.S. government and to the United States Agency of International Development, essentially USAID, for their unwavering commitment to fostering peace and security worldwide, and for their dedication to addressing the endemic issue of violence against individuals in Jamaica. At Winrock International, we believe in the power of collaboration, innovation, and sustainable solutions. Our mission is rooted in creating a better, more equitable world where individuals can thrive, free from violence and aggression, and oppression, and aggression as well. The SVOV activity aligns with our core values, and we are committed to leveraging our expertise and resources to support those victims of violence. USAID's SVOV activity will implement strategies that address the multifaceted nature of violence in Jamaica, while providing comprehensive support to those affected by this epidemic. Together with our partners and stakeholders, the SVOV program team, under the leadership of Dr. Charlene Kour-Desai, will work tirelessly to ensure that survivors receive the care, protection, and justice that they rightly deserve. We will work in partnership with the communities that we support, that's SVOV supports, to develop context-specific violence prevention approaches and to strengthen access to trauma-informed services through dialogue, collaboration, and capacity strengthening. In addition, SVOV will employ strategies that address the root causes of violence, paving the way for sustainable peace and prosperity. I would like to take the moment to highlight the fact that this is not Winrock's first affiliation with Jamaica. Winrock has supported several successful programs in this culturally rich island nation, including biofuel development in the early 2000s, child labor prevention and reduction as a part of the U.S. Department of Labor-funded Clear 2 initiative, and most recently the Jamaica-U.S. Child Protection Compact project that addressed the complex issue of child trafficking, from prevention and protection to prosecution and survivor support. As we embark on this new journey with the SVOV activity, Winrock International pledges to remain steadfast in our commitment to impactful and lasting change for the citizens of Jamaica. I extend my deepest appreciation to all who have contributed to making this initiative a reality: the government of Jamaica, USAID, Winrock International's Jamaica SVOV team, including our backbone partners Eve for Life and Rise Life Management Services. Also our valued partners from Jamaica's NGO and private sectors, community leaders and members, and of course the people of Jamaica who inspire us with their resilience, their courage, and their vibrancy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Put your hands together one more time. We can do better than that. There's no new taxes. No tax on the applause. All right, so earlier I'd mentioned to you that we have a lot of persons in the room who are movers and shakers in the field of development here in Jamaica and also globally. And so let me, in the spirit of establishing that protocol around, the order that we're going to be looking at, we have, of course, His Excellency N. Nicholas Perry, Ambassador from the United States of America, Dr. Javed Singh, Country Representative, USAID. I'm sure not everybody knows who Dr. Singh is. Dr. Singh is sitting right in front of me right here. We also have other USAID representatives in the house, okay? Where are the USAID people? All the USAID people? All right, wonderful. We also have with us persons from the Supporting Victims of Violence Ecosystem, or backbone partners, Rise Life Management Services and E for Life. Can I see the hands of the Rise Life Management team? All right. And the E for Life team? Wonderful. We also have Mr. Dennis Zulu, representing the United Nations, Resident Coordinator in Jamaica, and other UN agency representatives as well. Welcome, Mr. Zulu and team. We also have the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Fitz Bailey, representing Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police. DCP Bailey, good to have you here, sir. Thank you. We're safe and secure, That's why my idea of us staying here, it's not a bad idea. Not about that money. Anyway, moving right along. We have our representatives from various government ministries, departments, and agencies. You have all have had an opportunity to, view some of the displays that are there from the various organizations. We have the Ministry of Justice, through the Social Justice Division, Victim Services Branch. We have the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Center for Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, as well as the Community Safety and Security Branch. We have Miss Diane Gordon Harrison, I believe, the children's advocate, here with us. And also we have representatives from the non-government organizations, civil society organizations, and community-based organizations. The private sector is also represented. I am told, I gather that we have somebody representing the Jamaica Money Market Brokers Foundation here today. Welcome. We also have the most important people, in my opinion, in the room. These are representatives from the communities. Okay? Hello? Come on, talk to me now. All right. I did tell you earlier that the Honorable Minister Chuck will be joining us a little bit late, but we also have representing the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Patricia Duncan Sutherland. You're here representing the opposition leader, and you're looking quite lovely, I must say, representing the opposition leader. Thank you. That's why you're there, Mr. Singh. Okay, beautiful. All right, so in terms of the persons in the room and the protocol that we would have established around that, I want to spare the persons who are at the head table from the burden of having to go through all of that again. Would you mind if they just observe the protocol that has been established? Say yes, no, please. Yes. Thank you very much. So the burden of going back through the protocol is no longer yours. Wonderful. I like when we're compliant like that. And we work together. Teamwork makes the dream work. Well, the next person who we're going to hear from is our ambassador, Ambassador N. Nicholas Perry. He was confirmed by the U.S. Senate to be ambassador to Jamaica on March 10, 2022. He's the first person born in Jamaica to hold this position, by the way. Hello. Nick Perry is a former New York State Assemblyman and represented the 58th District for 30 years. The 58th District includes parts of East Flatbush, Canarsie, Brownsville, and Crown Heights. Nick Perry was born and raised right here in Jamaica. I'm sure he can understand what I just said. The fourth of 5 sons in a family of 11 children. He completed his secondary education at Kingston College. You want me to say it again? Fortis Caderes Ceteris Non Potest, where he attended on a full scholarship. He worked for the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union before departing for the United States in the summer of 1971. Upon arrival in the United States, Perry volunteered for the Selection Service and was drafted into the U.S. Army and served 2 years on active duty and 4 years on reserve status. Perry attended college at the GI Bill, graduating from Brooklyn College with a BA in Political Science and later studied for an MA in Public Policy and Administration. After college, Perry became involved in community organizing and gained recognition as an effective advocate in his community. He was appointed to the local community board, where he demonstrated such leadership skills that he was elected board chairman and re-elected to 5 consecutive terms. Quite impressive. Ambassador Perry was first elected to the New York State Assembly in 1992. In November 2020, Perry was re-elected unopposed to his 15th consecutive 2-year term. He was cited in New York media as the winner of all winners in the November 3rd general election. Perry received the highest vote total of anyone running for legislative or executive office with 99.85% of the votes in the Assembly District 58. That's amazing. As an assemblyman, Perry was the Assistant Speaker pro tempore and served on the committees on Ways and Means, Rules, Codes, Labor, Transportation, and Banks. He was also Regional Vice Chairman of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. Ambassador Perry is married to Joyce Nehemiah Bear, and they have 2 children, daughter Novalie Indira and son Nicholas Alexander. They have 1 granddaughter, Justin Skiles. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and also my pleasure to introduce to you our ambassador, N. Nicholas Perry. Put your hands together.
Is this yours? So I don't touch any of the wrong buttons. I thought it's much easier to pass it on to the Master of Ceremonies. I want to thank you for establishing protocol. As looking at the list that I have here, there are quite a few people on my list who haven't yet arrived. And all of these individuals I know have very important responsibilities. It's often a challenge to keep your schedule as put together by the people who work with you and for you. Things change lots of the time out of your control, and so we shouldn't hold it against those who didn't make it. I'm looking forward to see Minister Chuck, who attended Kingston College with me, and haven't seen him for a while except on TV. Protocol has been established. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, for doing that. Well, I'd just like to recognize the members of my Embassy Kingston team, the chief of my USAID section, Dr. Singh, who's here with me, and since I arrived, I noticed he has this really receptive, glorious smile on his face, as if I should give him some credit for what is happening here. Well, USAID is a very important part of this launch, and so smile, Jay. So it is a real pleasure for me to join with you this afternoon for the launch of the USAID Jamaica Supporting Victims of Violence, SVOV, project. Indeed, this is a groundbreaking initiative signed in July 2023 and funded by the U.S. Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. That's a program and a big section of embassies around the world that's usually referred to as CBSI. And this will cost America, and it's maybe cost is not the right word, because nobody likes to face cost. It's supposed to be a more friendly word, more joyful type of word. Those of you who pay bills know what cost entails. Usually it's an obligation, it's a responsibility, but this is part of a really close, continually developing in the right direction partnership between the United States and Jamaica. This is a $10 million outlay, and I'd like to talk about it in Jamaican dollars because it's over $1 billion, and that's bigger money, right, Jay? So, so when you're talking about dollars, there is no need for you to distinguish between Jamaican and American dollars. So we have a $10 billion, over $1 billion investment through the CBSI program that will go towards this initiative. This initiative represents a paradigm shift in our approach to addressing violence in Jamaica, to not only support the victims, but also witnesses and vulnerable youth who have become perpetrators of the violence themselves. This violence appears to be unending and ever increasing. We pray for cessation in a significant way. The U.S. remains committed to partnering with Jamaican authorities to improve citizen security by strengthening policing efforts, enhancing border security, and promoting community-based interventions. This launch today reaffirms our commitment. And at this time, I would really appreciate you joining me in expressing thanks and appreciation to some of our partners. Winrock International, our biggest partner, Government of Jamaica, and those hardworking, dedicated, committed civil society organization members, those who toil sometimes in the field, volunteers, they don't get paid. Local community activists, and many more than we can individually call out today. Thank you for your unwavering support and dedication to this cause. Join me also in the special recognition of two integral local partners, Eve for Life and Rise Life Management. We thank them for their exceptional dedication to serving at-risk community in Jamaica for a combined period of over 40 years. That's dedication, that's commitment. Through your tireless efforts in the areas of healthcare, education, empowerment, and social support, you have profoundly impacted the lives of many by fostering inclusive communities. Together, we are stronger, and it's through your collective action that we can create a meaningful difference, empowering individuals and communities to become agents of change. And that kind of change is impressive because it creates lifelong changes in individuals who otherwise may have been serious problems in the community. Investing in education, skills training, and economic opportunities can empower individuals to break the cycle of violence and build together brighter futures, not just for themselves and their families, but also for the community extending to the Caribbean region and even beyond there into the other parts of the world in which we exist. There's a common saying that Jamaicans are little but tallow. How is my accent? Did I lose it?
Still there.
Little but tallow, Jay. Imagine what that means. Small but mighty. And I could say small but strong, but I think mighty is a better adjective for that. And this is really true. I can testify to that. Resilience is at the core of the Jamaican spirit, and together we can harness that resilience to overcome one of the greatest challenges that we face: the devastating effect of crime, which far too many Jamaicans continue to experience. As we launch this groundbreaking activity today, let us also look to the future with hope and determination. There will undoubtedly be challenges along the way, but I am confident that with our shared commitment and perseverance, we can make a difference that will endure and grow over time and spread across the region where violence is a challenge all around. Let us continue to work hand in hand, bridging divides and building bridges of opportunities for all Jamaicans. There will be challenges along the way, but I am confident that with a shared commitment, we will achieve the goals that we have set. Together, the United States and Jamaica can brag about the closeness of our relationship. It is no secret that we work closely together on behalf of our people, Americans and Jamaicans. And that is why I'm standing here today to share with you the assurance that working together, we'll be doing all that we can to create a Jamaica where every individual can live free from violence and fear, and where every dream for every Jamaican is within reach. That's our commitment to our partner Jamaica. That's our commitment to the people of Jamaica. I have no doubt that ultimately we can achieve that goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Nicholas Perry, Ambassador of the United States of America to Jamaica. You know, a friend of mine has said to me that there are 3 types of male students in Jamaica. 3 types. Those who went to Kingston College, those who wish that they went to Kingston College, and then those who went to a better school, Wolmer's Boys. So, I did not go to Kingston College, and I do not wish that I went to Kingston College. So you can do the rest. Thank you. Thank you very much. The commitment made by His Excellency is a commitment that we should all have to create a Jamaica where persons are free to live and safe, a society where all of us can thrive. That's the kind of Jamaica that we want. And he mentioned that Jamaicans are little but with talawa, and he used the adjective mighty. Small but mighty, to describe Jamaicans. And I want to, at this time, invite a group that is seemingly small, but they are mighty. They go by the name Yard Empire. It's a local NGO that has been working in the tough inner city communities of central Kingston and has been doing a lot of great work with young males in particular to help them to be more resilient and to have a positive response to issues of violence in their community. The Yard Empire is led by Miss Terry Salmon, who we all know from her days of acting, and she has now joined the ranks of the NGO sector and the work of advocacy for our youth. I'm going to ask you to put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome the Yard Empire. I was looking in the audience and I saw some people. The temptation was there. Yes, but as good Jamaican Christian folk, we yield not to temptation. You know, we know how it goes. Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Listen, these are young men from the community of Parade Gardens. Put your hands together for them. No, those two songs are two iconic songs in Jamaica, the ones that were being played on the recorder. One was from the Heptones, Book of Rules. Common people like you and me will be builders for eternity. Quite an appropriate song. And of course, the great Jimmy Cliff. You can get it if you really want, but you must try. Try and try. You'll succeed at last. Wonderful, wonderful renditions. And then the drumming. You know, you're going to have to teach me how to beat the drum, because I can't play an instrument to save my life. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us now the Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, who, as we were told earlier, is also a graduate of Kingston College, where he served as Deputy Head Boy and received a scholarship to the University of the West Indies Mona campus, where he received an honors degree in special mathematics. I bet a lot of you did not know that. His hard work and keen attention to detail paid off when he became the Jamaica Rhodes Scholar in 1973. He went on to St. Catherine's College at the University of Oxford, England, where he completed a degree in law. Armed with his wealth of experience and extensive knowledge, it is in the area of the judiciary and the legal system that Minister Chuck has found his passion and niche, thereby distinguishing himself as an attorney at law since 1982. He was consultant on the judicial system and legal aid in Jamaica, the author of many published papers, and also author of 2 books, Should We Hang and Understanding Crime. Minister Chuck has worked steadily at various levels of the political and governance system. With his mantra over the formative years, and I will have to read it because it's here, the brave may fall, but never yield. Mr. Chuck's commitment and dependability can be seen in the many areas where he has served. He has served as research coordinator on the Committee on Capital Punishment in Jamaica in 1979, the chairman of the Penal Reform Committee in Barbados, 1980, university nominee for the Committee on Constitutional Reform, and member of Parliament for the constituency of North East St. Andrews since 1997. He was opposition spokesman on justice between 1997 and 2007, and Speaker of the House of Representatives between 2007 and 2011. In 2011, Minister Chuck had a short stint in the office of the Minister of Justice. In February 2016, he was again assigned to the portfolio with the mammoth responsibility of providing a law-abiding society with an accessible, efficient, and fair justice system for all. Over the years, Minister Chuck has served as a teacher in mathematics, senior lecturer in law, columnist for the Gleaner newspaper, and commentator on social, political, economical, constitutional, and legal issues. Minister Chuck is the husband of Gloria and father of 4 daughters, 1 grandson and 3 granddaughters. He enjoys tennis. It doesn't say if it's watching or playing. And likes to read and listen to music in his quiet time or hang with friends of his choice. I want you to put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome the Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Damien. For the record, I was once a competitive tennis player, but I only play at it now and watch it. I understand. First of all, let me apologize for being late. I was at a judiciary strategic planning meeting, and I could not avoid being there and to at least indicate to them that we hope funds will be available to carry out their strategic plan. I think all protocols have been observed, but I would like to identify members of the head table, including my Fortis brother, Ambassador Perry. Also identify a few members I see, friends in the audience. DCP Fitzbailey, nice to see you, sir. The children's advocate, Ms. Dan Harrison. And also my good friend, Patricia Duncan Sutherland. I know she lives in my constituency, and I have no doubt she has voted for me over the years. I want to thank USAID for sponsoring this very important intervention to be managed and implemented by Winrock with the cooperation of the local stakeholders. I would like to say to the Winrock team, you don't know what you're getting into. Violence, sadly, is a part of our DNA. It is not only a cultural problem, but it's rooted in religion. The feeling is that unless you use the rod, the child will be spoiled. And so, even though we beg that children should not be caned, spanked, or any form of violence to be used on them, it is built into far too many of our parents, especially single-parent families, mothers, who don't have fathers around to scold and speak to their children. The easiest way for the mothers to deal with it is just to pinch ears, hit in the head, use a whip. And sadly, we see far too many of these young people who are brutalized. And then what does that do? It sends a signal that violence is the way you solve problems, which is so very sad. And many of these children actually take it out on one another in the schools, in the communities. But the worst part of our cultural practice is the belief by far too many women who feel that if the man doesn't beat them, the man doesn't love them. I'm sure, Winrock, you haven't heard that before. But there are many women in the community who feel a sense of, I can't understand it, of love when their men actually beat them. And I can tell you, as a former practicing attorney, sitting in court, I actually see so many women, after the man has been charged, who beg the judge, beg your judge, let him go. You're sad. I mean, I have seen so many women practice as an attorney, battered, bruised, and I'm there to take out a stop order on the offender, spouse or husband. And having given a statement and I draft up an affidavit, she doesn't turn up. And occasionally I drive to the home because she has an address. I said, what happened? You haven't come in to sign the affidavit. Don't bother with it, sir. We're back together. And sadly, this practice continues too frequently, where violence is condoned, and far too much violence is accepted. Now, the focus of Winrock and this project to have victims of abuses, of violence and criminal conduct is indeed, therefore, very timely. We have to remove this information cultural gap, not even gap, something that we don't know how we are going to ensure that people will condemn any form of violence. But it is an undertaking which we need to engage in. Far too many victims suffer in silence. And they suffer in silence because they feel it is acceptable, as I say. because they feel if they report it, the offender might be prosecuted. They feel fear, why they're in fear that there could be even further retaliation. And you get the situation that a fair amount of criminal and domestic violence is not brought into the public space. And it is important, if we're going to really curb the high level of violence in a society, that all forms of violence, especially domestic violence in the home and criminal violence wherever it occurs, that they should be exposed and dealt with. So how do we urge the victims to come out of their lonely cocoon, out of the bedrooms, out of the homes, out of the neighborhood, and literally seek help? I can tell you that that's one of the greatest challenges I have, even as minister, as I go on justice fairs, as I urge justices of the peace, other stakeholders in the communities, urge the victims of violence, abuse, to go to the Victim Services Division. We have one in every parish. We have restorative justice centers in every parish. We actually have 22 restorative justice centers. And if you take the opportunity to just call the victim service offices, we will send a counselor to you to listen to your case. I beg, I urge, don't be that lonely victim of abuse and violence. Yes, it could be your spouse. Report it to the victim service offices. Even if you don't come in, you can get counseling virtually. But most importantly, how can we help you, the victim, to be able, if possible, to restore that relationship with the offender? And that is where, from victim services, we urge the counselors who see the victims of violence to encourage the offender to meet in restorative justice practice, where if the parties can really talk out the issues, the challenges, what caused the offense or the abuse, then restorative justice, which has been one of the most successful programs in the Ministry of Justice, to be able to heal and restore the relationship. It has happened, it is happening, and we hope it will continue to happen. And that is why, when I heard of the program, I was very happy to see that we at the Ministry of Justice will be very keen and eager to participate with you, because we have the services to really heal the violent and other conflicts that can bring back parties together and make Jamaica a safer place. So we at the Ministry of Justice will be very happy to work with you, with your stakeholders and you, Winrock, to make sure that a significant amount of the violent conflicts and all of the abuses which occur daily, that we can stop and remove and eliminate as much of them as possible. So I want to thank you and hope that the partnership with the Ministry of Justice will be a very strong and effective one, and that we can significantly reduce abuses and violence everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Delroy Chuck. We're reminded of the realities that we face in our society, where a lot of victims, at the point of making the report and getting an affidavit signed or whatever it is, decide that they won't continue. One of the things that we want to do with this activity is to give agency to persons who are victims, so allow them to have a voice, to speak, to get support, to find help, and to strengthen the services, Minister, that exist within the ministry's department and the agencies of the government, the Ministry of Justice in particular. Has it been a good afternoon so far? Have you been having a good time? Good? You good? Everybody all right? Good. Yeah, man, I like that. I like when the people out there so feeling or me feeling up here. So, you see, I'm happy, you know, that even though I have two persons who went to Kingston College, I also have some beautiful women up here who did not have nothing to do with Kingston College. And, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I tried. Anyway, we've heard a lot from, you know, Miss Etemazian representing Winrock International, from His Excellency Nicholas Perry, and of course from the Honorable Minister Chuck. And we are about to hear from Dr. Charlene Cordesai, Chief of Party, for the SVOV activity. She's not the kind to have a long list of things for persons to say about her, but you know, we had to say something. We had to tell you a little bit about Dr. Charlene Cordesai. The first thing I like to say is she doesn't like when we call her Dr. Charlene Cordesai. Charlene is quite fine for her. Charlene is currently the Chief of Party for the USAID supporting victims of violence activity in Jamaica. For the last 2 decades, she has worked extensively on issues related to child development, parenting and violence prevention, especially in the Latin America and Caribbean region. Through this work, Charlene has contributed to research and policy efforts aimed at tackling violence against children, justice for children, gender-based violence, and youth violence. Charlene holds a bachelor's in psychology from McGill University in Canada and an MSc in sociology, social psychology specialization from the University of the West Indies, Mona. She also has a PhD in psychology from Birkbeck in the University of London, United Kingdom. Charlene is also a family person. It would be wrong for me to tell you how many children and grandchildren the Kingston College gentlemen have without telling you that Charlene is married and has 2 beautiful daughters who she loves dearly. She doesn't watch or play tennis as far as I'm aware, but she is an avid beach goer and she loves to spend time with her family. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Dr. Charlene Cordesai.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. I know that the protocols have been observed, but I have so many old and new friends in the audience. Please forgive me if I go through the list again. But before I do that, I want to big up Yard Empire. Because my daughter, I've never heard the recorder sound like that before. My daughter, everybody knows, and those of you who may not know, in Jamaica we learn the recorder in school. My daughter has been practicing. She's in first form now for the last week, and trust me, when I saw the recorder coming up there, I was having some flashbacks. I am going to let her know that it can be done, you know. And she's a very determined young lady, so she'll get there. So thank you, Yard Empire. You've inspired me in more ways than one. So, Mr. Moderator, Damien Hilton, my Deputy Chief of Party, who, when he walked in, I said, but hold on, you're showing everybody up here today. He's very dapper, so we're loving the outfit, and thank you for your very able moderation today. The Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, thank you so much. We know that you really made the effort to be here with us today, so we really appreciate that. Shows your commitment to everything that we're doing here for victims, survivors, witnesses, and even for perpetrators of violence who we know are very often victims themselves, right? His Excellency and Nicholas Perry, Ambassador of the United States, thank you so much, Ambassador Perry, for being here. Dr. Jaydev Singh, Country Representative of USAID, other USAID representatives who are here with us today, Nina Etemazian, Associate Vice President, Human Rights, Education and Empowerment at Winrock, and my boss. So we're happy that she made the trip here from DC. Other supporting victims of violence team members, and I know that Damien is going to thank you later, but I have the mic now, so I'm just going to do everything I need to do. The team is amazing. Our team is amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for all that you have done for today and way beyond today, and I know there's more to come, so thank you so much, and welcome. To Patricia Duncan Sutherland, representing Mr. Mark Golding, Leader of the Opposition. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Our backbone partners, E for Life and Rise Life, part of the team. Basically, you are the team, and we really appreciate it. Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey, representing our new Commissioner, Dr. Kevin Blake. Representatives from other government ministries, departments, and agencies. I want to also specially recognize members from the UN and other IDPs, and everybody knows my bias, so I have to particularly call out Miss Olga Izaza, who is my old boss from UNICEF, the country representative. Thank you for being here. Also want to mention the representatives from our target communities, which I'm going to mention and tell you about right now. Diane Gordon-Harrison, our children's advocate, always looking out for justice for children in our country. Representatives of our non-government organizations, civil society organizations, and community-based organizations, the private sector, guests who are here with us today, other distinguished guests, really all of you, members of the media, young people, welcome. Today, I'm going to just be walking you through this activity. I'm going to try and keep it short and tell you, ooh, not working. This one? You know, everything works. There we go. Is that you doing it, Romaine, or? No, it's me. Okay, great. I'm going to be telling you about the what, when, where, why, how, and who of the SBOV activity. So in terms of the what, okay, press down, not across. That's the trick. Okay, so the USAID Jamaica Supporting Victims of Violence activity is aimed at improving multi-stakeholder coordination to provide wraparound and trauma-informed services to survivors and to increase the availability of information on survivors, witnesses, and perpetrators of violence in Jamaica. As you've heard mentioned, the total award is just under $10 million US. Thank you very much to the American people and USAID for that. We need it. This is a serious issue in our country. Okay, Romaine, you may have to just do it for me. Yes. Okay. All right. So in terms of the what, the main goal is to strengthen local government and civil society efforts to support victims of interpersonal and collective violence in hotspot areas. Next slide. Okay. Yep, next slide. Our first objective is to expand survivors and witnesses' access to some of these wonderful services that, for example, Minister Chuck was talking about. And we want to do two things. So you got to press for me, right? We want to improve attitudes. No, go back. Thank you. Yeah, we love technology, but it doesn't always work when we need it to, so bear with us. There we go. There we go. All right. Improve attitudes and behaviors towards violence. And, you know, Minister was talking about a lot of some of these harmful norms that we need to try to, disrupt some of these things. Secondly, we want to, I think I need to go for my paper. There we go. All right. Secondly, we need to increase, I can't see over Tony, increase access. increase access to and demand for trauma-informed services. So this is what we want to be doing under the first objective. In terms of the second objective, now we can go to the next one. Strengthen the government of Jamaica and civil society institutional capacity to support victims, witnesses, and perpetrators through coordinated, very important word, and effective interventions to both address and prevent interpersonal and collective violence. And there are four things that we want to achieve here. The first is the increased capacity of the government to provide quality trauma-informed protection services. Secondly, we want to do the same thing for the NGO sector. Then we want to bring everything together to improve multi-stakeholder coordination for the SVOV response. And then finally, those of you who know me well know that I feel very strongly about data. I come from a research background, worked at the university for many years. We can't do anything effectively without having the information, without having the data. And so really we need to make sure that we improve data collection, analysis, and utilization. We can't just collect it. We have to also analyze it in a timely fashion, and we have to make sure that we use it to improve the services that we are trying to deliver for victims of violence. Okay, next slide. When? This is a 4-year activity, and we actually we signed the agreement on the 10th of July of last year, and we will be going until 2027. In terms of the where, as you can see there, our lovely map. So with the help of the Violence Prevention Alliance, we were able, with our backbone partners and USAID, to really select some communities. And I don't have time now to tell you exactly how, what criteria we used. But just to say that we did look at levels of violence, we looked at violence-related injuries, we looked at whether or not it was a part of the community renewal program, we looked at issues like Zozo, we looked at lots of different things. We wanted to have a mix of both urban and rural, and so this is what we landed up with. So we have communities all across Jamaica, and in the west, we have Grange Hill and Little London, which some of you may know have been in the news recently. In St. James, Flanker. In Clarendon, Palmer's Cross and Yorktown. Moving to St. Catherine, Brayton. And then in the KSA, Kencott, Lawrence Tavern, Tower Hill, and Rennet Lodge. And I also just want to mention that we will also be doing some work with a few other communities, one of which is Rosetown, as well as some other communities in Westmoreland that we have really, in talking with our government partners, in talking with the Community Renewal Program, they really encourage us to say, you know, they really need some services in these areas. So we're looking at a few other communities in Westmoreland as well. Next slide. Okay, and now I've lost my thing. Okay. So we will also be focusing on survivors, witnesses, and perpetrators between the ages of 10 and 29, which of course is the youth category. We want to focus on youth because of their high rates of exposure to violence. We know that in Jamaica they have the highest rates of perpetration and victimization, but also they have the best potential to disrupt the cycle of violence. And so we really feel strongly about working, and of course we can even go younger if we really want to work on this issue. So we're looking at that. Next slide. Now why? We've been hearing a lot of reasons why, but just bear with me. All you have to do is scan our newspapers on any given day, and you will see that you know, violence is really one of the most serious, most critical challenges that Jamaica is facing. In 2023, Jamaica had the highest homicide rate among 20 Latin American and Caribbean countries. 80% of the homicides were classified as gang-related. And as I mentioned before, the main perpetrators and victims were young males between the ages of 15 and 24. So this is a very serious situation. In about a 2.5-year span, the National Children's Registry received over 41,000 reports of child abuse. Okay? And with the help of our friends from UNICEF in their recent multiple indicator cluster survey, we see, and Minister Chuck was speaking about this, that 76% of children between the ages of 2 and 14 are experiencing violent discipline by their parents and caregivers on a regular basis, usually in their homes. That's an extremely high number. And it used to be higher, so we are improving. But the truth is that it's still way too high. 21% of adolescent girls between the ages of 15 and 19 report having experienced sexual violence. And 1 out of 10 adolescent girls have been forced to have intercourse in their lifetime. And so, I mean, we know that this is something that we really have to work on. I'm hoping that my presentation will come back up very soon. But another reason why we need to do this is because at the start of this activity, we did a situation analysis where we, with the help of the Violence Prevention Alliance, tried to look at what was happening in our landscape, what was happening in the ecosystem as it relates to responding to victims of violence. And we found that while there were a lot of strengths, there were also many gaps and many challenges that we have to face. So just bear with me one moment. Since the presentation is not back up. I'm a teacher for many years, so I never go anywhere without the paper versions of things. Right, so the first one, the first weakness that, with the help of VPA, we found from our situation analysis was that men and boys are being underserved, right? And, you know, they're not the only marginalized group, but it's definitely something that we want to look at in terms of the services that we're able to provide. There's also a trust deficit, especially among the target youth population in volatile areas. And this really becomes a challenge when we're trying to get people to utilize services. You hear the minister really appealing, the services are there, we need people to come, we need people to use them. Also, always limited resources. This often hinders the sustainability of very good programs and interventions. And this is especially where long-term support services are needed. So we know sometimes we have these projects and programs, and while they're very helpful, they can't be sustained because of resources. Also, the community-based organizations and the NGOs who are working in the communities, they face funding, staffing, and infrastructure constraints. And this, of course, can hinder the establishment, but also the maintenance of support for victims of violence. There are also lots of gaps as it relates to coordination and collaboration. And we know already some of the problems with this. This is going to lead to issues, gaps in service provision, so we may not be providing all the services that are needed. But also it leads to duplication of efforts, which is something I get particularly frustrated with, as well as working in silos. You know, in Jamaica we have scarce resources, we need to maximize it. And so good things are going on, but how do we work better together to make sure that we are actually supporting and getting the help to the people that need it? We also discovered in the situation analysis that trauma-informed care is limited, especially for active community leaders, volunteers, and some civil society organization staff. They themselves are also in need of care. They too have experienced significant trauma and require healing and specialized support. And very often you can't help individuals until you yourself get the help that you need. Similarly, staff morale is often low, and I've heard this again from a lot of our MDA partners. They want to be there, they want to be doing the good work, but there is burnout, right? It's really difficult. It's difficult to keep motivated, it's difficult work. And so it's really important that, especially when times get rough, when the violence is flaring up in the community, when, as Minister is saying, you're doing all you can, but people still don't want to come in and report, they still don't want to take it to the next step in the justice system, you know, it can be very difficult. And so we have to also think about how we keep that morale high to continue this very important work. Other weaknesses and gaps that the situation analysis uncovered have to do with limited public awareness, and this is something we want to address in the project. There's limited information, there's limited awareness about services. Sometimes there are even conflicting messages about who can get services where and where you go if you need help. And so again, through some of the work that we're doing, we want to address some of this. And then finally, for the why we need to do this project, looking at issues of monitoring, evaluation, and learning. And again, some of my biases will come out here. But basically, what the situation analysis found is that many organizations, including government agencies, are still using manual data collection. And this, of course, is going to be problematic when you want to be able to use data efficiently to improve your services. But not only that, how do you share information with the other critical stakeholders that need it? And so these are all the things. This is the why. This is part of the why. Besides from the very high levels of violence, these gaps, these challenges are why we need a project such as SBOV. Next slide. So I've told you all of that, but now I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we propose to tackle this issue. And you can see on the screen, hopefully, yes, our strategic approach, which the first thing is we want to disrupt entrenched norms that stigmatize victims of violence and normalize abuse, and instead, and Damien mentioned this earlier, support survivors to reassert agency. So it's going to be survivor and trauma informed, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. The activity will also work with the government and community-based civil society organizations in our communities to use new and tried community interventions to shift attitudes and practices around violence, but also link survivors with locally available services and strengthen protective networks to break the cycle of violence affecting each of our target communities. So we want it to also be community-led and inclusive. We want to be innovative. We want to use innovation. The activity will apply innovation in technical approaches, partnership strategies, monitoring, evaluation and learning, and management structures. In its outreach strategies, the project will incorporate social media and other digital tools. We'll also try and be innovative as it relates to training and how we try to get more agencies integrating trauma-informed care in their work. And basically, you know, we have been working at this thing for a long time, and I'm looking at Dr. Ashley, who is right in front of me. It has its ups and downs, and it is a long, but we've seen many good things come, and I think we've also seen things that don't work, and I think we really need to try to be innovative. We need to really work with communities and see how we can try and break the back of this thing called violence, which is gripping our country. And part of that is the last approach that I have here, which is really to build up and strengthen our local organizations. We have wonderful NGOs, we have wonderful community-based organizations, youth groups that are doing amazing work, but they need the support, they need their capacity to be strengthened, and this is the only way that we can really sustain any gains that we make through projects like this. And so a huge, huge part of this SVOV activity is working closely with organizations, not just our two backbone partners, but with smaller organizations at the community level to help them to build their capacity to continue this work, to make different linkages, and so that when WinRock and USAID and this project is over, they can continue the gains that we have made, hopefully made. I want to mention just a few other components in the activity. The first one is GESI, or Gender Equity and Social Inclusion. So this activity has adopted a cross-cutting approach to improve gender equity and social inclusion in all our activities, including our awareness activities, prevention, and protection services. We mentioned that we want it to be survivor-informed, and so we have a survivor advisory group. I always say the wrong thing. Advisory group. And I think we have some members with us here today, so we really want to especially thank them. And this is going to be an advisory and accountability mechanism that will ensure that the activities and the interventions that we are implementing are reflective of the experiences and the realities faced by survivors and others with lived experience, and that whatever we do is truly responsive to their needs. So we feel very strongly about that. Also, we're going to be, as I mentioned before, big on localization and collective action. So we have a small grants program that we're going to be focusing on local CSOs and CBO actors who are already working in the violence space in our communities, and we want to make sure that they get some additional funds to do some of this work. But also, we're going to be working with the community leaders and community members to prioritize those things that are important to them for their community culture. We're going to try and build initiatives around those things and then bring all of the actors together to the table to see how we can ensure that those particular initiatives can be implemented, that we can monitor them, that we can evaluate them, and then if we see that they're working, that they can be sustained over time. So that's, again, a very big part of what we're hoping to do. Localization is also extremely important, I know, to USAID. And so in the spirit of that, we're making sure that we're building up the local capacity to continue this work. We're still in phase 1 of our project, still in the how. And so we're working on our baseline assessment, and situation analysis is almost completed. We're doing lots of work planning with all stakeholders present. I mentioned we're setting up our survivor advisory group. And we're doing broad stakeholder engagement, and I feel so blessed and happy to see so many of you here in this room today. Those who we know are key stakeholders that we have to work with on this project. And then in phase 2, that's when we're going to really have the active community entry, community participation. We're going to be doing our collective action initiatives, and basically going to be doing active implementation of the activity. And then finally, I want to tell you a little bit about the who. So, of course, I have to shout out WinRock. This is our team. You'll see many of us around today in our T-shirts, in our shirts, sorry. We have a booth at the back, so please go and meet our team, say hi, find out what role they play. As I mentioned before, it's a dream team. I really feel so lucky to be working with them. Likewise, our backbone partners, who you're going to hear from in a moment, they are literally the backbone of everything that we're doing here. And these are organizations that were scoped by WinRock even before we got to the stage of signing this award. Because of their long legacy, their work, it spoke for itself, and they're really poised to take on a greater role in this sector. And so both of these NGOs will be providing direct services in the communities in which we're going to be working, but eventually we're going to transition some of that management, technical, and coordination responsibility to our backbone partners, and WinRock will take a step back so that we can really, they can really continue and build that momentum that which they'll carry on even when we're not here. But I can't leave out my government peeps. So, of course, in this project, we're going to be working very, very closely with ministries, departments, and agencies. Violence prevention and response is a multi-sectoral issue, as you know. And so we are having a lot of difficulty narrowing down who we should be working with. But we do only have limited funds, so we have to make some tough choices. But so far, we have been having some broad discussion with the Ministry of Justice, particularly the Social Justice Division, which is responsible for victim services, restorative justice, and child diversion. We've also been working with the Ministry of National Security, and in particular the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and you can see, please take a look when the formalities are finished. We have they're showcasing all their wonderful services there. So in particular, CISOCA and the Community Safety and Security Branch. And then you can't do anything with youth without looking at the Ministry of Education and Youth. And so we're going to be working very closely with Protection and Family Services Agency, the Safety and Security in Schools Unit. We want to be working with the Guidance Counseling Unit, the Children Affairs Policy Division. They're the ones who have responsibility for the National Plan of Action for an integrated response to children and violence, and also the National Parenting Support Commission. We've been hearing so much about how important parenting is, and so we're happy to have representatives from most of these organizations here today. We've also been in discussions with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities and the Ministry of Health. As again, we want to be inclusive and make sure that whatever services that we are providing are also taking into account individuals who may have disabilities. Other key stakeholders, I mentioned the CBOs and the faith-based organizations in the communities. There are several other government partners, I won't name them all, but they're here that we've been talking with. Other USAID initiatives who are also working on youth violence prevention and response. Very important for us to coordinate the work that we're doing. And then, of course, all the other IDPs who are also doing wonderful work in this area. And then, finally, and I probably mentioned everybody who is represented in this room, but if I haven't, you are also included in the who of this thing. All of us, we need to work together to try and improve services for victims and also work to prevent violence from happening in the first place. So I thank you.
Not just because she's my boss. You have to do better than that. What you see is what you get with Dr. Charlene Cordesai. It's not just the work, it's the passion. Really, this is an area that, you know, she wears on her sleeve, and so we know that we are working with somebody who is committed to the cause. Committed to the cause. The work that we do very often is critiqued from the lens of where is the change? All these interventions, all these efforts, where's the change? How come we're still at the same place? And I often say to people, well, a part of the discussion needs to be the counterfactual measure. If you should remove all the various interventions that would have taken place over the last 20, 25 years, Jamaica would be in a much worse place than it is today. So there is a counterfactual reality about the intervention, notwithstanding the need for us to have scalability and sustainability in relation to the interventions and the efforts that we're undertaking. And the SVOV is just one other effort to try and support victims in society. And so we look forward to, as Charlene said, working with you. But more importantly, we look forward to the work that will continue to be done by our backbone partners. So we have two organizations as backbone partners that have been doing yeoman service in the work of development. And I'm going to invite at this time, representing E4Life, with one slight adjustment. We initially had Ms. Joy Crawford, the Development and Training Director, but she unfortunately was not able to be with us today. And so we're going to be having Ms. Shannalee Smith, the executive director of E4Life. She'll be coming to tell us a little bit more about the work that E4Life is doing and will be doing under the project, and she'll be immediately followed by Ms. Nadine Chambers-Goss, Executive Director for Rise Life Management Service. A long time them people here do work in the field, I want to tell you. So put your hands together for E4Life and Rise Life.
Hi everyone. I'm happy to be here to represent E4Life, a non-government organization that supports young women and girls who are living with HIV, impacted by sexual violence and teenage pregnancy. E4Life is excited to celebrate the launch of the SVOV project, a collaborative effort between Rinrock International, USAID, E4Life, and Rise Life Management. The project holds immense significance as it addresses the urgent need for trauma-informed services for survivors of violence in Jamaica and the role of communities in the violence prevention and protection response. One of the core principles we upheld at E4Life is the transformation of language. We choose to refer to our survivors of violence not as victims. We choose to refer to them as individuals, as survivors, We choose to refer to our survivors of violence not as victims, but as individuals who have demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. This shift in terminology reflects our commitment to honoring their strength and agency. The SVO project is a comprehensive initiative aimed at tackling the multifaceted challenges faced by survivors and witnesses of the violence in Jamaica. Our role as backbone partner in the SVOV project encompasses a range of activities designed to create lasting change. Firstly, we are organizing and mobilizing community leaders and influential members to become change agents for the protection of girls, boys, young women, and other vulnerable groups. Through targeted and community-based campaigns and engagement, we seek to build a network of support that actively works to prevent and address instances of violence. Secondly, our focus on trauma care is fundamental to our approach. Survivors of violence often experience profound emotional and psychological trauma that requires specialized care and support. Through counseling and therapeutic interventions and referral services, we aim to empower survivors to navigate their own journey and resilience and confidence. Additionally, our commitment extends to strengthening our organizational capacity to provide first-line gender-based violence emergency response to our community members exposed. This includes investing in training of our staff, enhancing some of our systems, and forging strategic partnership with other service providers. Our goal is to ensure that survivors have immediate access to the care and support they need during this time. Our work, however, does not end with this SVOV project, but the SVOV project is very important as it helps us to dedicate and create, as it helps us to dedicate ourselves to provide a holistic approach to survival and violence support services. This includes education programs to prevent future violence, economic empowerment initiatives to promote financial independence, and community engagement efforts to foster a culture of respect and equality. E4Life welcomes the partnership with Rise Life Management Services, USAID, Rinrock International, and all our partners here, extending gratitude for their unwavering support towards the SVOV project and beyond. Thank you. I think I said everything.
I don't want to say anything because I know you have a lot to say. So,
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my extreme pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. And I know our Master of Ceremonies would have already ensured that all the protocols would have been observed. But can I just tell you, it is such a pleasure seeing all of you here this afternoon because, as Charlene said, we really need to find a way that we can work better together so that we can truly serve the people who need it as we try to tackle this monster pervasive issue called violence in Jamaica. So thank you very much. It's wonderful looking down at you. Pat, you stand out. But it is wonderful seeing all these partners because we will need your support to ensure that this project goes beyond the very limited period that SVOV will be for. So this afternoon, I really want to share with you a little bit about what RISE will be doing under this project. You've heard the term backbone partner mentioned a number of times today. What does that mean? What will we be doing? So I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight. What I want to say up front, though, is that as runs through from even the planning of this project, whatever we do as RISE, we will not be doing alone, but we will actually be assisted by our partners E4Life, and we will also be using our expertise to assist them in the communities that they have been identified to work in as well. So again, the need for collaboration and coordination will run through all of what we do as I read through the different activities. So you would have heard RISE and EVE have been around for a while. RISE has been around for 35 years, starting in 1989 as Addiction Alert. And we have been trying several different projects and programs over the years to tackle this issue called violence in Jamaica. But I don't need to tell you that this is something that is very complex, and it is not something that any single entity, be it NGO or government, can tackle on its own. So again, this is why we all need to really be vested and committed to this project. Now, RISE has been, for the last couple of years, working in violence-prone communities, implementing different interventions, such as Get Towards Gender-Based Violence, violence prevention programs for youth, and also through our programs targeting drug and alcohol addiction, which we know actually sometimes fuel acts of violence. Now, under SVOV, RISE will be working in 5 communities of the 10 that have so far been selected. We know there might be more. So the communities that we will be working in are Rennock Lodge, Grange Hill, Palmer's Cross, Tower Hill, and Kencott, and delivering activities that will seek to, first, build awareness of violence-related issues among citizens by engaging community residents through workshops, different presentations, just to build that awareness as to what violence really means, and to kind of start tackling that entrenchment in terms of our social cultural norms. The next thing that we will be doing is enhancing the capacity of our CBOs, and this will include, of course, our community development committees, as well as faith-based organizations, by delivering training in psychological first aid and safeguarding to 200 members of these entities. We will also be delivering workshops to about 20 CBOs to help them improve their ability to attract and administer funding so they can continue serving their respective communities and residents. So even though we know it is a wholesome sum that has been allocated through this project, we still will need more. That's just the reality of it, but we want to ensure our partners know how to attract that and manage it for the benefit of our residents. Next, we will be delivering educational enrichment and life skill programs to about 100 children of families who've been affected by violence, ensuring that the children and their family members have access to psychosocial support. We will also be hosting residential camps just to give them an opportunity to break from these communities and to further engage with them even more to provide the kind of services that they and their families need. We will also, of course, be focusing on the youths and our youth leaders, and we will be doing this by empowering them I'm sorry, my phone has decided to act up. Right, by empowering them to contribute to violence prevention in their communities through youth leadership training, to about 50 youth leaders, and also by delivering trauma-informed life skills training to 150 youth. And of course, to ensure the sustainability of this, we will be working quite closely with the National Police Youth Club to ensure that this training is amplified across Jamaica. And of course, you know, we really want to have a wholesome look in terms of both the perpetrators, not just the victims or the survivors, I should say, but also to recognize that it's hurt people who hurt people. So we will also have a component that will address about 50 youth who are currently in detention facilities to ensure that we can cater their social and emotional learning, and of course we'll be using sports and creative arts to do that. We will also be helping them to improve their social and economic reintegration by using a sports-based model to deliver workforce and employability training, because you know we want them to come back, we want them to do well. So I'm very pleased that through this project we'll be able to provide these services as well. And of course, I know I see Mr. Troop from the Ministry of Education, and so one of the things that we will also be doing is facilitating science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, or STEAM, through project-based training for these incarcerated youngsters. So, yes, you can clap for that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a lot that we're looking to undertake in this project, but it's because this is the lot that is needed if we are really to start shifting the kind of attitudes that exist currently, and if we're going to be able to build that kind of supportive ecosystem to ensure that we properly serve persons who have unfortunately become victims of violence, to properly assist those persons who are on the verge or who are unfortunately already perpetrators of violence, and of course to ultimately reduce the impact of violence on our society. Thank you.
Wow, that's a lot. I grew up in a tough inner city community, a single parent home, during a time when there was chronic drug addiction in my community. My father suffered from drug addiction at some point, and I benefited from an intervention carried out by, at the time, Kingston Restoration Company, funded by the USAID. It was called the Youth Educational Support System. And many of us in my community would go to what we call the teen center as teenagers. It was a place that we could go and do our homework in a safe environment, and we got exposure to different kinds of interventions and programming. I always raise this in contexts like these because the question mark around whether or not interventions of this nature are actually working must be answered through examples like myself. Sure, we need to do better at monitoring and evaluation and capturing the data and ensuring that we can actually take the learning from our interventions and use them for other interventions. But I'm pretty sure that the work that Rise Life and the work that E4 Life have been doing are going to have more people over the next few years who will stand on podiums like Damian Hilton with lived experiences that justify every spend. Because if not for that youth educational support system, and of course other things over time, I could have been one of the most notorious. I could have been one of those young persons knocking on your door trying to get in for the wrong reason. And so I want to start thanking the persons who have made today possible by thanking the United States government and the people of the United States of America for their continued support through the CBSI for the work done in the region. His Excellency, in helping to shape and advance development. I want us to put our hands together for the U.S. AID. The SVOV activity is taking place with a lot of support from the USAID Jamaica, and I want to specifically point out Mr. Kenneth Williams or AOR, because Kenneth is there with us. Kenneth, don't hide. Stand up so that people can see you. We know you don't like the limelight, but our AOR, who has been there with us every step of the way, trying to make sure that we get our I's dotted and our T's crossed, and we really appreciate the support. I also want to point out specifically Ms. Sheba Thomas Gifford, because you see, when it comes on to the communication stuff and making sure that we meet the requirements, the USAID requirements, we don't skip a beat when we have Sheba on our side. Right? So thank you very much, Sheba, for all the support that you have been giving us. I wanted to start with the USAID for the work that they have been doing. I want to also thank, of course, Miss Etimazian. All of us were struggling over that name for a few days, but you have given us an opportunity to learn a new name, to pronounce it properly, but also to benefit from your wisdom and your insights in relation to the development work. Winrock International has been doing development work in over 40 countries across the world, and they're doing work here in Jamaica. We really want to say a big thank you for gracing us with your presence for the launch of this activity. Despite the fact that he is a Kingston College old boy, and that he continues to watch tennis and not play it, the minister took the time out of a busy schedule to be with us today. I've been in dialogue with his team, and at some point we got a little bit nervous, but we were guaranteed that justice would be served. Right? And Kingston College shows up. His Excellency forced me to say that. Well, thank you so much, Minister, for joining us, and I'm pretty sure, based on your sentiments and also those expressed by Dr. Desai, that we will be working very closely together going forward to advance the work of SVOV. For somebody to have 99.58% of the votes in any election means they control a garrison. Sorry, no, that's not true. But His Excellency, His Excellency not just told us that Jamaicans are little but we're Talawa, but he is Talawa. He is a mighty man, the first Jamaican to hold this office, and he shared with us today about the hopes and the dreams that we all have, to have a Jamaica that is safe, a Jamaica where everybody can feel comfortable, where we're not talking no more about victims, we're talking about victors, right? Yeah, man, champions. Yeah? So thank you so much, His Excellency. We will talk a little bit more about the school histories. Wolmer's is still the oldest school in the Caribbean. Just want you to know that. So thank you very much. We can't we can't not thank our Yard Empire young people. I think they might have had to run out, but Yard Empire made the thing nice, man. Yes, man. They added that cultural component. They added that rhythm, that you know, that spirit of Jamaica, and we really appreciate them. The backbone partners, Rise Life, E for Life. We want to thank them, but we're looking forward to the great work that we'll be doing in the field. You know, we have a lot of work to do, of course. And for those of you who came a little bit late, I did indicate that we are live streaming. We want to thank the PBCJ, who has committed to partner with us on this project and to make the message around reducing violence and promoting peace and promoting conflict management in Jamaica something that every Jamaica can watch, even if they don't have cable TV. PBCJ, free to air. Put your hand together, man. Also want to thank our other media partners, the Jamaica Observer. They're here. We want to thank CVM TV. They're here as well. All the media partners that have supported us for this launch and will be supporting us over the life of the activity. Thank you so much. I can't do it like you. I can't do it at all. But I'm pretty sure there's a way to say thank you. So I want to thank Antoinette A. King, resident Jamaican interpreter. I mean, we just like, we're talking about inclusivity, right? That's not the way you do it, by the way. This is the way you do it. Come on, people. Come on, get with it. You can't let me know these things. All right? Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Antoinette, for supporting us, not just on this, but on other activities that we're doing. Because, yes, we want to reach all communities with this message. And we're really about inclusivity as part of the ethos of this activity that we're undertaking together. Okay, there are some other persons that I really want to highlight as we continue to, just thank the partners for the support. We have our ministries, department, and agencies that are here, that are showcasing the work that they're doing. And I really want to say a big thank you to the ministries. We know that this is not an easy time when you work in government, okay? Because people are working on their strategic plans and people are preparing their, things to submit and stuff like that in terms of work plans. So for you to take the time to be here today tells us that there's a commitment. And so we want you to put your hands together for the ministries, departments, and the agencies that are here showcasing their work. And I'm going to ask persons to just take a look at the back when we're done with the formalities. I'm going to wrap up soon so that you can get a chance to do that. Also want to thank the community representatives who have made it. Community people, I beg you, stand up. If you're from one of the communities that we're targeting under SVOV, please stand up. Please stand up. Look at that. Look at that. These are the champions, These are the people in the communities who are going to be the difference makers and who are going to be the voices of this project. I think we have some persons from Lawrence Tavern, all the way up in Lawrence Tavern. Remind me where you're from again, my friend. Tower Hill, and remind me. Kencott, the young man from Kencott, and we have somebody in the Rennock Lodge. The place governed. Sorry, we have covered a number of spaces, right? It is a good look. Put your hands together for our community representatives. I want to say a special thank you to the Violence Prevention Alliance, Dr. Ashley and the team for the work that you did with the situation analysis and just, helping again to remind us of the critical areas that we need to focus on under this project. We couldn't have done it without you, VPA. So big up yourself. We want to also thank Brock Consultants who are undertaking our baseline survey and will be going into the communities and hearing from the residents and plotting that graph around what the current realities are so that we can measure change over time. Very important. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We also want to thank, of course, all of you for coming. And all of you for supporting this initiative. And when I say supporting, I really mean supporting, because it's not just coming to our launch and we forget about it. We have your information out there on the register. And we're going to be keeping you abreast with what's going on, and we're going to be touching base to get you involved in different initiatives at different points in time. I cannot say thank you without, of course, thanking the SVOV team, local team, and the international team. We've been getting, come on, put your hands together. Holly, if you're watching this on the stream, Sabina, if you're watching this on the stream, big up on yourself. We don't know what that means, but let me just thank you so much for the support that you have been giving to us. We really appreciate it. And of course, our leader, our team lead, Dr. Charlene Cordesai, was really inspired, encouraged, giving us the latitude to be creative, not to reinvent the wheel. Somebody who wears the SVOV ethos on her sleeve. This is not just work, this is her passion. Thank you, Dr. Cordesai, for your heart. I want to thank the Jamaica Pegasus. I want to thank the Jamaica Pegasus, of course, for hosting us in this lovely meeting space. I've been looking outside to make sure that it's not too gray, but I'm reminded that I'm actually seeing the sea from where I am, and it's just a beautiful place. So if you want a place to have something like this, then we're recommending the Jamaica Pegasus. It's free, they're not paying me to say that, but I'm thanking them so much for being wonderful hosts and for making sure that everything goes well. I want to thank the JCF, yes, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, of course. I have to big up the JCF. DCP representing the commissioner. He has committed to allow us to have a courtesy call, so I'm pretty sure we'll be organizing that very soon. All right, so we're looking forward to that. I hope I've not left off anybody. Okay, I want to thank every single body. We have anything to do with what we are doing today. Every person who has contributed in your own unique way, from conceptualization and to where we are now in terms of implementation, we really want to make this project work. And one last thing, we're going to ask you guys to hold us accountable. It's not a common thing or a popular thing to say, but we're going to ask you to hold us accountable. Don't just partner with us and work with us. Help us to identify the areas where there are gaps in our implementation, where we can improve, where we need to talk to somebody who we forgot to talk to. You are the ones who are going to be our lenses outside of our own, because even when we look through our own lenses, we don't always see everything. And I'll close with a simple word that reminds us that we should not despise small beginnings. Quite often, the greatest things that can ever be achieved started with a little step, a small idea, or a few people. In this room, we have more than that. We have more than little steps, we have more than small ideas, and we have more than a few people. We have everything we need to transform Jamaica. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will be having some light refreshments, so please feel free to engage and to take advantage of the refreshments that are available, and also go and check out the different agencies that are here. Please, thank you very much. We'll just have a little photo opportunity with the persons at the head table, so we'll get that out of the way and then we can